Hello, all my roaches in the Brea, California area. I'm going to be at the Brea Improv July 29th, and then I'm going to St. Louis, Missouri. Going to be at Helium Comedy Club at St. Louis August 2nd. Get all the tickets up at my Instagram, which is at Josh_Potter, or on my Twitter at J_Potter. You'll find the links in the bios, my friend. Go check it out. I hope I see you on the road. Now, let's get into the show.
Votto coming to the plate. I have to apologize real quick as Joey Votto making his way. Turns out it wasn't the right celebrity that was freed. I was on the air celebrating Bill Cosby being released from jail. There's 0-1 as the first pitch past Joey Votto. Turns out the internet and the woke thing to do, partner, was hashtag free Britney, not free Cosby. Should probably pay better attention to Twitter as Votto sends one deep into right field. That is his 1,000th career RBI. Congratulations to Joey Votto, 1,000 RBIs. But yes, no, it turns out Bill Cosby, convicted rapist, freed from jail. Britney Spears not freed from her conservatism or whatever it's called. And here I am with egg on my face. But congratulations to Joey Votto.
Idiot!
No, we'll talk about Bill Cosby in a bit, my roaches. Welcome once again to the Josh Potter Show. And another Tuesday is upon us. And what a Tuesday it is, my friend, because we have perhaps a dream guest of the highest accolades. And within 1 year of this show, we got him on the program. Mr. Thom Brennaman is going to appear right here on the program in just a few moments later on in the program. And I can't believe that he agreed to come on. And at the time of this recording, I'm still waiting for the phone call to say that he doesn't want to be on the show. But no, I'm sure it'll air, and I'm very excited about it, to say the least. But that's coming up a little bit later on. Sorry it's on Zoom. If you're a person who hates Zoom, apologies. But I feel like that's a good way to refresh some of you about some things about this show. I'm going to do whatever I want, and I don't really give a shit. If you don't like it, I guess I'll see you next week. I'm not sure, but, just remember that. And the other thing is, none of what I say is serious. I hope you understand that as well. If I do say something serious, I'll make sure that I end it with...
Now watch this drive.
All right? So make sure that you remember that these news stories, I'm not the reporter. I'm just the guy relaying it to you, making some fucking jokes. All right? And the third thing... that you need to remember is that, I don't know. I'm going to do whatever I want. That's come back to that one again. There was a third thing, but I can't remember what it is because I'm so enthralled with this Bill Cosby news. Just wild. And I don't mind getting into it here in the Nice Boy Clock because I have nothing naughty to say about it during the Nice Boy Clock. But Felicia Rashad is getting a little bit of trouble because of her reaction to it, to say the least.
Idiot woman!
Yeah, wild. I mean, Ashad, I was talking to you, and then I said, Bill Cosby just got out of jail, and you're like, what? You were...
Yeah.
Is this a shocking revelation?
It is pretty shocking. I saw some of the tweets, and the thing is, like, I didn't super follow it because I didn't grow up with Bill Cosby. I mean, I know we say inner city black, but I feel like I was a outer city black.
Right, you didn't need the words of Bill Cosby to guide you?
Correct.
You just had a dad?
Yeah. No.
No? Okay, well, hey, a mom.
A mom that wanted to be both.
Okay, well, there you go. That's good enough. And so, yeah, you didn't have this as like a figure in your life, Bill Cosby. So he was just kind of an old head, right?
Yeah.
But here he is now, I mean, back out of jail, I grew up watching The Cosby Show. I thought it was weird. I was at a hotel recently, and The Cosby Show, it's like they knew. The Cosby Show was on one of the stations. I don't know what I've never heard of it before. It was like a local station that plays old TV in the middle of the night. And they were doing a Cosby marathon. And I was like, that's a little wild. I thought the show was like removed from distribution. But no, it was on there. It's like they knew he was about to get out of jail. But it turns out Felicia Rashad, who played his wife on all of his television shows, and has been a staunch defender of Bill Cosby, despite also speaking out the other side of her mouth, being like, believe all women, but not the ones that accused Bill, basically, is what she's getting at. She's a dean at Howard University. I did not know that either. I don't know if it's like one of those figurehead sort of positions. Like, is she really a dean, or is it just like, hey, we got the mom from Cosby Show as a dean. What's up? Recruitment. But Howard University finds himself in a bit of hot water. Late Wednesday night, they disavowed a sympathetic tweet about the comedian from Felicia Rashad. She said in a statement, Howard said in a statement, that it lacked sensitivity towards survivors of sexual assault. She had tweeted, finally. That's what she tweeted. Finally, when he got out of jail. As if, like, everyone would be hitting that like, smashing that heart on that tweet.
Hitting that retweet button.
Even if you felt that way, just take a temperature of the room, lady. You know, you're a dean at Howard University. You would think you would be able to tell something that's going to get ratioed to hell at the very least. A terrible wrong has been righted. Oh, so she continued her fucking dumb tweet. A miscarriage of justice is corrected, she said. So that's pretty wild, considering she also found herself later tweeting the second tweet that followed up the backlash. I fully support survivors of sexual assault coming forward, obviously except the ones that did toward Bill Cosby. My post was in no way intended to be insensitive to their truth. Personally, I know from friends and family that such abuse has lifelong residual effects. My heartfelt wish is for healing. Again, except for those, because finally he's been released. Unbelievable. But yes, he's out there. If only he were a regular black guy just caught with weed, he would still be in prison, Sean. It's a shame. It's a shame. But he couldn't have died like another man who's pretty evil. He passed away the same day Bill Cosby was released. It was like we made a trade with the universe. Bill Cosby was released, but Donald Rumsfeld has passed away. And it's so fucking weird seeing liberals on the internet going like, R.I.P. like mourning Donald Rumsfeld. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. What are we mourning here? Even conservative people, I'm wondering what they're mourning. The guy that bamboozled us into fucking 2 wars that are just finding their wrap-up happening now for 20 years. I mean, no one was more prolific than killing brown people than Donald Rumsfeld, maybe except for Barack Obama. But other than him...
He was mentioned.
In this article, right? Yeah. No, I showed Sean an article, some of the worst people in America, and Barack Obama found his way on there. But that is a very big slight, you know. This is all about killing, you know, brown people overseas, really. That's really the bent of this article all the way around. So they're just naming the most prolific people in terms of that. But yeah, it was just odd seeing people mourn Donald Rumsfeld. Like, oh, do you mourn the used car salesman that sells you a lemon? Do you go like, oh, that guy was kind of cool. He had some funny things to say that led to my demise in many capacities, but whatever. I don't mind. But yes, no, I'm getting right into it without even playing the intro. This is the news, folks. Donald Rumsfeld is dead. People are mourning, and I don't know why. We should be like dancing in the streets at this point. I don't understand. I mean, good God, how much damage does one guy have to do before we go like, oh, Donald Rumsfeld died, and just move forward? I mean, I don't even know. I think if they do like a fucking service for him, that'll be so wild. Like, remember when he lost $2.3 billion or some shit, and then the next day 9/11 happened, so everyone was kind of like, oh, well, where'd that go? I don't know.
Where did that go?
Maybe it was million. Either way, it was a large sum of money that I wouldn't have a problem locating. I don't know. Yeah, where did that go? Weird. But nevertheless, let's continue the news. Last week we had a story that people were kind of up in arms about. Some people, you know, they heard the story of the man who killed his son after he discovered photos of him wearing women's clothes and eating feces out of a diaper.
Still one of the craziest ones I think I've heard right now.
I never found out the scoop, like, was it in the cloud? Were these Polaroids? Whatever. The message is, if you do have Polaroids, put them in a safe. If you have them on the cloud, lock that cloud up with your passwords, people. I mean, come on, what are we doing? But I thought, you know, people were upset because a child was murdered in that. I thought, a father murdering a son, what better revenge than a son murdering a father? Dun, dun. Booyah. So we got a story right here. Edmonds man said he planned the stabbing death of his father. The night before he found his father's body, an Edmonds man reportedly said he used Google to look up 3 search terms. Definition of treason, weird one to look up when you're going to murder your dad, justifiable homicide, and excusable homicide. 2 out of the 3 raise some flags. The other one raises some other flags. So I don't know why they put it in the article. The definition, he's like, by the way, what is the definition of treason? He's just kind of also looking that up, which is a crime that is punishable with death. According to the Edmonds detectives report, John H. Fry, of 24 years old, said he had been diagnosed with schizophrenia, though he didn't believe it was a legitimate illness. That's usually a sign that it's probably a proper diagnosis. I don't believe it, though. I got schizophrenia, but I don't believe it's real. And the cop would be like, oh, okay. I guess it is then. He reportedly said he didn't take any medication, clearly. He regularly used marijuana and sometimes drank alcohol, he said, but had neither for at least 5 days. Based on previous contacts with the suspect, his family had reported that he had a history of mental illness. Police responded to the Edmonds house in the, we don't need to know where it is, after the suspect called 911 himself. There, the officers found the body of his father, who had suffered several stab wounds. The medical examiner determined he died from cuts made to his neck. Knives were found on the floor nearby. Knives, multiple. So it was like I don't like this one. I'm going to try this one. Nah, this one's too stabby. I'm going to go with this one. No, this one's got too many teeth on it. I'm going to go with this one. It's how many fucking knives did the guy need to use? He was booked in the county jail for investigation of first-degree murder, and he was set on $1 million bail, but he didn't obviously have that means. So he didn't get that. In an interview with detectives, he said that he had become increasingly angry with his father over the past year. Why? Was he wearing women's clothes and eating feces? Let's find out. Allegedly, he decided to kill his father on Wednesday. Early the next morning, he said he heard his father's voice coming from upstairs, and he recalled hearing something about a gun, but acknowledged that may have been his imagination. Yeah, those schizophrenics, they hear things. The suspect said he went upstairs with a Nerf gun and utility knife. He reportedly recalled confronting his father, punching him repeatedly, and dragging him into the bedroom. There, Fry allegedly told detectives he stabbed and slashed his father using multiple knives. Multiple knives. Unbelievable. Like I said, how many do you fucking need? I wonder what was the problem, What could have been wrong with the first couple of knives?
They didn't go through.
Evidently, they did.
True. They stuck. That's why he couldn't.
Yeah, he couldn't get them out. Yeah. This one's, I'm getting carpal tunnel using this one.
I can't get it out. I want to stab again.
Afterward, he called 911 from a call box and walked to a police station. Although he admitted that he had that his father did not assault him or make any direct threats toward him, John was adamant that his actions were justified in order to defend himself from being assaulted by his father. Maybe he did find pictures of his father eating feces from a diaper, wearing women's clothes, and didn't tell him about it. Didn't tell the cops about it. Keeping that under wraps, but that could be why. We'll have to do further investigation down the road here, you see. I want to get into, by the way, our little poll that we had up on YouTube in a little bit, discussing the fly situation, because very mind-blowing results as far as your boy goes, seeing them. Maybe not mind-blowing to you. We'll get into it in a little bit, but I wanted to discuss another thing because I know I discussed my vacation with you. I wanted to say thank you, by the way, to anybody who came to the Orlando Improv and the Tampa Bay Improv. By this point, it's been weeks ago. But I didn't get a chance last week when Kelsey was here. I forgot all about thanking all of you out there. I got to thank Matty Bullitt, my boy Greg. Matty Bullitt is a guy who owns a bunch of bars down in Orlando Way. And he took us out. We had an amazing time. I got to see my friend Greg, who flew into town just for a night. He was having like COVID cabin fever. So he decided to join us in Orlando for that night, and we raged. It was unbelievable. That was the early portion of my trip. Of course, last week during the Kelsey Cook episode, we discussed my latter portion of my trip, and my cousins are the ones who raised this whole fly debate, you understand. And it did get debaucherous, but it was wholesome as well. I don't know if you saw, Sean, I posted a video teaching my little cousin how to shotgun an iced tea.
I did.
A brisk iced tea.
Yeah.
People are chirping me about how it's blurry on my Instagram, which, by the way, is Josh_Potter if you'd like to follow along. But people were chirping me because it was blurry. They're like, what, did you film this with your eyes?
Bro.
Is this what you see?
It's just fucking.
No, you know what? Someone filmed it on an Android and texted it to me.
Yeah, they got a good.
That's how I figured it out. Yeah, there was one helpful person in the comments who raised that. Maybe someone texted you from Android. That's exactly what happened. So thank you to that person for pointing that out to me so that I have a justified reason. But yes, no, it's been the Instagram has been wild in terms of comments go. But I want to mention this little story before we get into our poll. Bill Gates, he recently got divorced. A lot of chicks probably throwing that puss at Bill Gates at this point. You got to expect, right?
Damn right.
If you were a girl, would you think about it?
Yes.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if there was an old woman, I would be like, hell yeah.
Deaf down. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Melinda Gates, what's up, girl? Hit your boy up.
Let me get that cat.
Let me get that cat. Let me get that number, and then maybe we'll talk about the cat. I'll be a gentleman about it. I can't take you out to places like Bill could, but I don't think you want that, Melinda Gates. I think you want a guy who's just going to be, I don't know, a savage. You know what I mean? I think that's what Melinda Gates needs at this point, is a true savage. And I've proven that on my trip, my vacation, that I'm going back to that again. And Bill Gates used to be a savage. Maybe that's what attracted her to him back in the day. Turns out he used to host nude pool parties and got pretty drunk pretty easily. That's what this article. Why do they have to throw shade at my man Bill Gates like this?
He's a weak drunk. Like what?
Yeah, they're like, he had crazy pool parties with strippers and he can't even drink good. Fucking bitch. That's what this article basically is saying here. It's like outing him as a guy who used to go hang out at strip clubs, and then afterwards he rounded up the girls and brought them over to his house. He was like, all he said was like, I'm having a pool party if you want to come over. He's not rounding them up. They make him sound like, he's got like a fucking lasso and a fucking cattle prod, and he's getting them into a van.
He's like, come to the dungeon. Like,
no, he's
not saying that.
He's a rich dude back in Silicon Valley who fucking had a pool, and chicks came over and partied with him, even though he was a dork, People don't want to give dorks any credit sometimes, But, I just wanted to bring that up, that this article is fucking an asshole article. There's a bunch of this article. You're a dork for calling Bill Gates out on this. Bill Gates is actually the cool guy for going out to strip clubs in Seattle, inviting them all to come to his pool, according to James Wallace, a biographer. This isn't a biography, so it's fucking true. But Melinda, hit me up, girl. Holla at your boys. 2 boys. Yeah, get one or the other. You can make a decision. I don't know whether this story is news or sports, so maybe we'll just start the sports a little early before we get to our poll. Beep, 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 beep. And of course, do not forget, coming up at the tail end of the show, legendary broadcaster Thom Brennaman. He's coming up, baby. I cannot fucking wait. But this story, murder suspect played soccer, there's where the sports come in, with victim's head after decapitation. Wild story. And another one that involves
murder.
Joel Saenz, a New Mexico man. I thought this said Mexican man, but it said New Mexico man. Did I say Mexican? No, I said murder. I said murder suspect, not the M's really getting to me. But New Mexico man who has been arrested and charged with first-degree murder reportedly told police he played soccer with his victim's decapitated head before he was taken into custody. The Las Cruces police confirmed that he made that comment to the officers. Although they couldn't verify he actually kicked the victim's head, the 25-year-old was charged on Sunday for fatally stabbing a man in Las Cruces, New Mexico park. Officers were dispatched after receiving reports of a body in the roadway. When they arrived, they found a decapitated person lying face down. Not very cool. I one time saw a guy, my grandpa was a volunteer fireman, and I one time went on a call with him. I don't remember how old I was. I was kind of young, though, maybe 12 or 13. And we went to a call of a motorcycle accident, and we pulled up on a guy, and he was laying face down, but his head was looking up. Yeah. And I'll never forget seeing that. And my grandpa was like, why don't you wait in the truck? And I was like, okay. And then I went to the truck. So imagine stumbling upon a guy who doesn't have a head. I wouldn't even think that was real. I would be like, it's a fucking... Yep. Yeah, I would just be like, that's a dummy or something. There's something in the road.
Or something, I don't
A what?
They're shooting a movie or something.
Yeah, they're shooting a movie. Just look away. That's like I'll see every now and then I'll be walking in the middle of the night and I'll just see a stroller, just like an abandoned stroller, and I just go, not even gonna look in that.
Nah.
Gonna walk across the street. Someone just left. That was a homeless person's like shopping cart or something that they just left there. There's no baby in there. Just keep walking. But anywho, it was later identified as the victim. About 10 yards from his body, they found the head of the victim. The defendant told officers that this man raped his wife 4 years ago, but he wouldn't tell police his wife's name. I was just shocked it actually happened. It's stuff you see in crime movies or stuff like that, says a man who lives there. Yeah, that's what we were saying, bro. That's what you should have told the cops. I thought it was a movie, bro. Now you're stuck. You're in this article. You're stuck with that image for the rest of your life. Feel bad for that guy. I prayed he wouldn't do it again and ruin someone else's family. I was very angry because they let that monster out. So apparently this man had been arrested for a bunch of things. The man that sliced the man's head off, he was arrested for a murder previously, or he was arrested in the connection of a murder, of Crystal Montoya, Benjamin's sister, who said she was angry when he was let out. So this man was already in jail for something crazy. They let him out, and he did it again, and he blamed it on this man evidently raping his wife 4 years ago, though he wouldn't say his wife's name. Who married this guy? That's what I want to find out. I want to find out more about this wife if she does in fact exist. I don't want this guy to be released again and go on to do something stupid again and hurt another family again. No matter how much I hurt for my brother, I can say that I hurt for this person's family as well. He needs to be put away, period. Well, I would say that's a truth. I'm going to go along with that. If you don't mind, I'm gonna sign on to that one right there and say I agree. I believe he should be put away as well.
Now watch this drive.
This story is getting a lot of traction in the world right now. A basketball team here in Southern California, more so down San Diego way. You see there was a championship game, and it's a majority Latino high school that was playing in this against a white high school. And evidently, there was an incident. The Coronado team beat the Orange Glen team. Now, can you guess which one's the white school between those two? Between Coronado and Orange Glen?
I got that wrong.
You got it wrong?
Yeah.
Am I wrong? Maybe I'm wrong. Is Orange Glen the Latino one?
I'm pretty sure that's what.
Oh my God, you're right. It is.
I was like, wait.
I did get it wrong too. Holy shit. Well, look at me being a fucking racist, I guess. I don't know. Cancel me for that. But Coronado School District, they evidently, after beating the Orange Glen team, threw tortillas at them. That's crazy. So they won the game and then threw tortillas at the...
Oh, wait, I was right. I got the team, or the... Oh, yeah, because when I heard Coronado, I thought of Colorado.
Ah, so that made you think that was white?
Yeah.
See, I just thought Orange Glen sounded the whitest.
When I hear orange, I think of, like, Anaheim.
Yeah, I'm from East Coast, so I'm like, Orange Glen. Like, what could be more fucking white than the guy...
Orange County type.
I mean, the name Glenn is the whitest name in the history of names, isn't it? I mean, so I just thought Orange Glen. And then the other one, Coronado, it sounds like the word heart in Spanish. That's corazon, I believe. My bad. So, like I said, poor judgment on my part. Nevertheless, the Coronado School District in San Diego area apologized on Monday for the incident. At least 2 Coronado players threw tortillas. They beat the team, and then they threw tortillas at them. That's fucked up. You already won the trophy. Why you got to throw the tortillas then? I mean, it's fucked up that they did it regardless, but you would think they would do it after losing more so than after winning. You know what I mean? I don't know. Because you really have no face to save when you've lost. You've already lost. Now be racist on top of it. You know what I'm saying? But what made these 2 guys do this, I don't know. It's not like they just had them in their bags. It's not like you're just walking around with tortillas and stuff. In fact, I have to deliberately buy tortillas. So there was malice in their action. I don't know anybody out there who's just like, hey, I got tortillas laying around.
Yeah, it was a community member that brought it.
Just brought the tortillas?
Yeah, dog.
To the game. That's crazy. And so, they were in on it, and then they threw them at them. It's not like the community member brought the tortillas just to be like, maybe after the game we have tacos, Yeah. It's in lieu of orange slices at halftime. So I don't understand I hope that wasn't the community member was an adult, I'd imagine. And they don't have one way or another. It's a lot of finger pointing at this point as to who really brought the tortillas on Twitter. Lots of finger pointing. So it does seem a little bit more orchestrated than they would lead you to believe. But apparently 2 players threw the tortillas and they've had to vacate the championship now. So they lost the championship because of this. I just don't understand what your thinking is. In what mindset would you go like, this is a good idea?
We won. Let's throw these tortillas.
Yeah, I mean, it's bizarre. I know that they do this in soccer a lot overseas. There's like people throwing, and it's always like super reprehensible. They're throwing like banana peels and stuff on for a certain type of player.
The inner city blacks.
So I've heard of that, but never have I heard about throwing the tortillas. This is a first as far as racist behavior goes in lieu of everything else. Now, Tom Brady's in the news again, and Tom Brady is getting another endorsement deal, and I think this one is right up Tom Brady's alley. This fits things, you see. Back in the day, Bill Belichick, he used to do Subway sandwich spots, commercials, if you will, and he wolfed down a foot long in it. Tom Brady probably won't be caught doing the same thing. Tom Brady doesn't even eat strawberries. I can't imagine he's going to be eating Subway's fake bread. By the way, Subway gets a bad rap, I think. I eat Subway a lot.
I do not eat Subway at all.
Is it because of the fake bread?
It is because I've gotten food poisoning and I will never go back.
What did you buy? What did you order?
I was like a turkey and Swiss sandwich.
That's it? Just
Yeah.
turkey and Swiss. So the cold cuts were bad?
I think the cold cuts were bad, but that's the only thing I ate, and yep.
Wild. I've never heard anyone getting sick from cold cuts. That has to be like they were left out very long, they were very old, something like that. Most people get up in arms about their bread being fake, which I say, if it is fake, this is a modern marvel of science. I mean, it tastes like bread to me.
Yeah.
If it's truly made out of yoga mats, the fact that they've made yoga mats edible, they should be getting an award. I mean, let's start feeding the homeless some yoga mats. There should be no starvation if we're making bread from yoga mats out there in the world, as far as I'm concerned.
I feel that.
But Tom Brady, he doesn't put anything impure in his body, so it's bizarre that he's doing Subway commercials now. So get ready for that coming up here in the fall. I think they picked him because they were so, they're still trying to find a replacement that sticks like Jared. He was moving subs, that guy. Say what you will about him with the kiddie porn, the guy was moving subs. So they were like, Tom Brady kisses his kids on the mouth. Maybe this is kind of close. Maybe we'll strike lightning once again. Who knows? But look for Tom Brady this coming autumn in Subway commercials. Today's Josh Potter Show is brought to us by Talkspace. Therapy is so important, dude, and I am learning the importance of it myself. It doesn't matter what kind of thing you might be experiencing or how mild it might even be. You could be experiencing things like anxiety, depression. Whatever it is on the spectrum of things, try and get it fixed, dude. And Talkspace is helping you do it. You might be saying, it's so time consuming to get involved with therapy. It seems overwhelming as far as that goes. I don't know if I have the time and what I'd be sacrificing in terms of my productivity or my life, and you're worried about that kind of thing. Well, Talkspace works around your schedule. You can send and receive unlimited text messages, and you can even get hooked up with a plan where you can schedule live video sessions with your licensed therapist from anywhere, whether it be maybe at your work if you're having a lunch break, or if you're on the road doing something, if you travel for your job. You can do it whenever, and it's been absolutely beneficial to my life, and I want it to be beneficial to yours as well. So you can start feeling better with a single message. Match with a licensed therapist. When you go to Talkspace.com, you can get $100 off your first month with the promo code Josh. So go to Talkspace.com, use promo code Josh. That's $100 off. Use code Josh at Talkspace.com. Today's show is also brought to us by the fine folks at Raycon. Folks, these things look so good inside of your ears. They feel even better. I used to hate the wireless earbuds because I was shackled to a certain brand that looked like white goo coming out of your ear. Let's just put it that way. And I wasn't too into those. But these ones from Raycon, man, I mean, they are sleek and they have a range of sweet colors that you can choose from. And they are built to go wherever you go with quick and seamless Bluetooth pairing and compact charging case. I mean, the case is cool too. It's like a little pill. It's like you just put them right on in there and boom, you're on the go. I have it hanging off my keys so I don't lose it that way. And they're with me wherever I go. And they're the everyday sort of earbuds that they send me. So you should check those out if you are checking out a pair. And so right now, by the way, if you are checking out a pair, Raycon's offering 15% off all of their products for my listeners. And here's what you've got to do to get it. You just got to go to buyraycon.com/Potter, and there you'll get 15% off your entire Raycon order. It's such a good deal. You'll want to grab a pair and another pair for someone else, maybe a spare pair for yourself, but it's 15% off at buyraycon.com/Potter. That's buyraycon.com/Potter. Today's Josh Potter Show also brought to us by HelloFresh. And the thing I love about HelloFresh is it takes grocery shopping out of the equation, but if I still want to look kind of cool for a girl or something, and I want to cook or I want to feel accomplished and I want to cook, it still gives me that ability. It still makes me feel like I'm a good cook, even though they kind of ration out everything for you. They give you step-by-step directions, so it's super easy. Probably like a monkey could probably cook with HelloFresh the way that it's going. I mean, they make it so easy. It's like the thought is gone. I mean, I could really sleepwalk through it and still look like the man at the end of it. And they've got a ton of stuff on there, man. They offer 50 menu and market items each week, including ready-to-eat salads, sandwiches, and soups. There's something for everyone to enjoy, and they are designed and tested by professional chefs and nutritional experts to ensure deliciousness and simplicity. That's really the key for me, is the simplicity. So why don't you get over to HelloFresh right now? I want you to use my code. It's hellofresh.com/JoshPotter14. Use code JoshPotter14 for up to 14 free meals plus free shipping. That's again, hellofresh.com/JoshPotter14. And get up to 14 free meals plus free shipping. That's from HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. Now, this also has been coming up in the news. Sha'Carri Richardson, it was posted today that she is not going to be able to participate, at least in part of the Olympics, the 100-meter race, which she is said to have dominated if she were to participate in it. She is unable to do that now because she tested positive for marijuana, but because of the way the rules work, she gets like a 3-month, you can't participate, but then if you agree to doing some treatment program, which is like treatment program for smoking weed, get the fuck out of town. If you agree to do that, it gets reduced to 1 month. So because of the way that it works from her positive test, 1 month after that, it just falls in the way that she is unable to participate in the 100-meter, but can participate in relays, which is we all know it's bullshit. She admits, she's like, hey, I knew that I shouldn't smoke weed. I knew that I couldn't smoke weed, and I did it anyway, so I own that. But we all know that smoking weed is not a performance-enhancing drug of any sort. If I smoke weed, I'm not running anywhere, for the record, especially fast. Maybe I'll do like my socks, my laundry. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. In terms of performance enhancing, it helps me do laundry. It helps me grocery shop, things like that. But it doesn't help me go anywhere quicker. So it's like, get off the whole fucking weed thing already. The Olympics, this is why I hate the Olympics, because it's so pretentious and stuffy that there's no fun in it. No one can show personality. If anyone steps out of line in any kind of way, it's like, oh, bad boy, what a rogue. Look at all the best Olympians. They smoked weed. There's 5 of them at least that won medals that got caught with weed, which is pretty unbelievable. I had the list here. Let me see if I can pull it up. Yes, right here. Boom. We all know Michael Phelps, obviously. The guy was like a fucking dolphin, and he's ripping bongs. Obviously, he was ripping bong rips that you and I can't even conceive with that lung capacity. Think about the bong rips he could possibly take down. Unbelievable. But he is far and away one of the best Olympians of all time. He's got fucking Fort Knox worth of gold medals. It's unbelievable. But also, you got to look at Usain Bolt. He admitted back in the day, he was like, yeah, I used to smoke weed as a kid. Uh-huh. You didn't do it as an adult. You're from Jamaica. Usain Bolt. The guy, his name is Usain Bolt. I mean, if I were to pick an athlete that just would play weed in a cartoon, it would be Usain Bolt. And he's the fastest man ever. So he's smoking weed. Maybe we should start looking into it. With Sha'Carri Richardson, Usain Bolt, Michael Phelps. Maybe weed is helping them a little bit, don't you think?
Maybe.
Now it's to the point where if I see an athlete smoking weed, I'm like, hey, Josh Gordon, look at that guy. Broke records. in the small amount of time he was allowed to play football. So I think everybody who's been caught with weed pretty much has exceeded all expectations and been a pretty top-tier athlete. They have a couple other ones listed here. Ross I don't know how to say this guy's name. Rabagliotti. He doesn't have the name recognition that Phelps and Bolt do, but he was a snowboarding guy, and he was tested for marijuana, positive for marijuana. At that time, though, they hadn't placed cannabis on the banned substance list yet. Now, of course, it's on the list because of this guy, actually, which is so fucking bizarre. And then Jamie Anderson, a very pretty and talented skier, she won the gold medal back in the Sochi Games of 2014, and she also tested positive for marijuana. So there's a couple of other athletes. So Sha'Carri's in good company, and of course very dominant in her sport as well. So hopefully someday down the road we can have this. Like, I thought about this, Ashawn. When does weed become a discussion with your children like beer is, you know? Like, when can you just be like, yeah, mom and dad are smoking weed. You can do it when you're older because it's legal. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's still hush-hush with parents to children. It seems very like it's very taboo, drugs, etc., blah, blah, blah.
When did you start?
I didn't start till very late in life. I started, the first time I smoked weed, I was 19, and I told myself when I was 22, I'm going to start doing this daily.
You
Like,
just
is
said
it just,
you were gonna do
yeah,
it.
I remember going like, this helps me. I'm going to do this every day. And I remember like making that deliberate choice at the age of 22. But I was old enough to, you know, at that point, recognize something in myself that maybe was lacking or that I didn't like from drinking. I really didn't like the whole like binge drinking thing in college. It wasn't boding well for me. And yeah, I just made the choice like weed's more my speed. I can be fun at a party, hang out. I can still sip a beer here, you know, have a beer here and there, but like I'm not getting fucking destroyed. And I'm not puking, and I'm not going like, I suck. I'm not a sad mess. You know, weed never made me go like that way in things. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, these are all things. And I partied this past week, as I mentioned, or 2 weeks ago now with my family. And it was so much fun. And, you know, they were bringing up old times of when I used to like on Christmas puke in the dog dish and shit like that. Like now I thankfully have grown out of those things. And I'm very pleased about that, but I still could rage here and there. But yes, the topic came up about the fly situation, and I have something that I've brought out of this. Let's first look at the results if we can. The results were overwhelming in favor of over the top.
Over the top.
This is, I also put the poll on my Instagram, and it was to a fraction of these amounts of people, but the results were actually the same ratio, like 60-ish percent, 60-something percent.
We got 69% over the top, and we got through the fence 31.
And it was very similar on my Instagram too. So what that leads me to think is it's not about the majority to me. This is what the spin zone I'm making on this. You have to be a refined individual to use the fly, you know? 69% of America eats McDonald's over, you know, filet mignon every day. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Ergo. And you know what? People were expressing to me it depends on the fashion. Josh, of course it depends on the fashion. What are you wearing primarily, though? I wear jeans primarily. Therefore, I use the zipper. And I did this display. I wish I brought the jeans with me. I did a display on my Twitch stream, twitch.tv/Josh_Potter. I did a display of my flies. I took 3 or 4 pairs of jeans, unzipped them, and put my hand through them and was like, look at how big this fly is. You mean to tell me your dick can't come out of it?
Right there.
Yes.
Because I was wondering the same thing, but like what kind of underwear are we
That's
doing?
another thing.
Yes.
So I am a boxer/boxer brief guy. Always have a fly in them. Is the fly tighter? Yes, but it does not have a zipper, and it doesn't have any. So yes, you do have to grab within that one. That's probably the hardest difficulty there is.
It's just too much time. That's too much time.
What kind of, you're
I'm
rushing to
efficient.
take a piss?
I don't pee unless I have to go pee.
See, I mean, I do too, but I can go zip, and my dick is already, this is the other thing that I don't understand. Your dick is already in the place, like so, that all you have to do to take it out of the zipper is pull it like this. To go over the top, how are you pissing? My piss gets, like if my base of my dick is trapped under the elastic band or the belt or whatever's there, it's cutting off the piss. That makes the piss hurt. That's why I never thought to go that seems like it's cutting off the flow of the tubes, you see,
I don't
when I
always
go on
have
over the
a
top.
hole to pull my dick out of.
Well, that's the difference. If you don't have a hole, and someone else brought up like button flies, and I was like, of course, if you have a button fly, you can't fuck around with it because you'll end up pissing your pants. Hands down. I get that. But how often are you out there with a button fly? And if you're doing it all the time, what kind of masochist are you that wears a button fly all of the time? That's insane, people stuff. Do you wear a button fly, Eshan?
I do have a couple jeans that have buttons because I was scared of.
That's like a special night out, though. You're not wearing those every day.
Wait, no, like button like jeans.
Like button flies. Like the where there's no zipper, it's just buttons all the way down.
Yeah. No, I have a couple jeans that are like that.
Yeah, but I'm saying you're not wearing them every day. They're not your everyday jeans.
Yeah.
Wow. You're a masochist. Why would you do that to yourself?
It's like a half and half, but like I think those are more comfortable. I think they're like the 501s if you're looking at Levi's, talking fashion stuff.
See, the fly is a big sticking point for me. I don't buy a pair of jeans. I did have a button, like I said, a button down, and that was a sticking point. I go, oh, those jeans. Every time I went to go put them on, I go, we got to make sure we're not like in a situation where we're going to need quick access.
Bro, it depends on the zipper. Some of those zippers are like fucking putting your dick on chainsaw.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but I feel like jeans. Someone brought up something about "Marry to Me" as if I've never seen that. That's so cliche. If you're so careless, maybe it's because I'm blind and I'm good with touch and I know my parameters on my own body. Maybe I just am more delicate with my dick going through the zipper. But I mean, I'm just not hasty. I can't tell you the last time, even impaired, being drunk or something like that, where my dick was caught in a zipper or where I had a zipper mishap. I'm just not that careless when it comes to my dick. Of course, I've scraped along the side on occasion, but it's never like so bad that I've gone like, man, what am I doing with this fly? You know, chainsaw, you say.
I'm not careless, but why risk it at all?
To each their own, and majority of you out there agree with Sean going over the top. And someone said it's like fashion where no one wears clothes with flies any longer. And I'm like, am I that old?
Wait, what?
Where people don't wear, yeah, exactly. So I don't understand. I think it's a matter of being refined at this point. I think it's like only upper crust intelligent people are going through the fly, and the rest of the troglodytes out there are out there doing, your cave people, and that's okay. To each their own, but I do agree that I have come to the conclusion, I should say, that I am far more refined for going through the fly. And the rest of you trolls and troglodytes going over the top. Hey, when Kelsey said that, I was like, maybe I should go over the top.
Yeah, dog.
That was the one thing that made me go like, maybe my dick's small. I got really scared for a second. It did make me second guess, but I went home and I thought about it and I saw some of the feedback from the people who also are like-minded with me. And I compared them to some of the mouth breathers out there saying that they go over the top. And like I said, I'm still team fly to this day, even though there's not as many of us as there are over the top people out there. Let the debate rage on. Continue to sound off in the comments. The poll will remain up. I'm not going to take it down. Maybe things will switch now that you've heard my sort of rationalizing of both sides of things. But next up, let's get into our interview finally. I'm so happy this man agreed to come on the program. And I've looked up to him for many a year, and his father. They're broadcasting royalty as far as I'm concerned. And if you've been listening to this show, you know how it's been a pillar, if you will, in the show, the voices of Marty and Thom Brennaman. So without further ado, here he is on the Josh Potter Show, Thom Brennaman.
How you doing today?
Great. How are you, sir?
Doing great. Thank you.
You look wonderful. It's good to see you.
Feeling good. Beautiful sunny day here in Cincinnati. So we're good. Where are you guys, LA?
We're out in Los Angeles currently. Yes, it's great that you're still out in Cincinnati. I didn't realize you spent the rest of your days out there. That's very cool.
My kids are both in high school here.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so you stuck around out there. That's awesome. And I wanted to hear about your childhood, sir, but I wanted to give a nice intro for you. Of course, we have broadcasting royalty on. We've talked about his family and him for many a minute on this show. Of course, I don't know if you would take this as a insult or as an accolade, but I consider you like the Ken Griffey Jr. of broadcasting.
Yeah,
because
I would take that not as an insult in any form or fashion.
The reason I say that, though, is because your father, obviously such a big legend, in the
Yeah.
Reds broadcast. But then you went on to do so many other things. You're like Neil Armstrong if he were to land on many moons. You did the NFL,
Well,
the Major
Neil
League
Armstrong.
Baseball.
It's funny you say that. He lived right up about 2 miles up the road from me here in town, and because he was a professor the last probably 25, 30 years of his life at the University of Cincinnati. He just
Wow.
passed away a couple of years ago. Unbelievable guy. I mean, obviously the things he did, but just as a human being, I mean, unbelievable guy.
2 Neil Armstrongs on one street, if you ask me. That's
Well, not on the
unbelievable.
same street. I don't live in that zip code.
Well, up the road, yeah. Well,
Right, up the
it's
road.
still very close in proximity. And like I said, I mean,
Mhm.
the things that you've done, you've landed on many a moon: football, baseball, BCS
and then
championships.
fallen off the moon recently.
Well, I mean, we could talk about that in a little bit too. But I wanted to find out, growing up, with your dad. I mean, you were alive when your dad was like an announcer for the Norfolk, whatever they were called
Yeah,
back
they
in the
were
day.
the Tidewater Tides back in those days.
Yes.
And then he was the announcer as well for the Virginia Squires of the ABA. And I was actually a ball boy for that team, for the visiting team every night back in the old ABA days.
That's wild. And
So,
I mean,
it
like,
was incredible. I mean, those are some of my fondest memories when we were living in Virginia Beach, and I was the ball boy for the visiting team. And they had guys like the Kentucky Colonels. They had guys like Artis Gilmore and Dan Issel, and I mean, Louis Dampier and Rick Barry played in the league. And I mean, it was, and on our team with the Squires, we had Julius Erving, George Gervin, and Charlie Scott all on the same team.
dear God. That's
But we
that's the
couldn't win.
fun part about minor league ball, right? I mean, you get to see everybody on their way up. And that's kind of like your father was too. I mean, you got to watch your dad on the way up, and you got to see what the road was like and things like that. Most people would maybe look at that and say that would deter someone from a career in broadcasting. But you watched your father, and it made you want to do it more. You saw him even in the trenches doing that.
And those are good trenches to be in.
Yeah, I mean, what was it like back then in the grind of a minor league ball like schedule? I mean, that's
It
insane.
was amazing. I mean, I didn't go on the road with them in minor league baseball. They were traveling back in those days to most of the cities they went to, on buses.
Sure.
And so I wasn't allowed to get on a team bus. I would go with my mom every now and again. She was from Richmond, Virginia. And so the Braves had their AAA team in Richmond, Virginia for many years. And that was only a couple-hour ride from Virginia Beach. And so we'd go there and some other places. But I mean, all the guys that came up while he was there, and he was only there for 4 years. But I mean, John Matlack and Jerry Kuzman and, all these guys with the Mets. Seaver was already in the big leagues. But I mean, it was amazing. I mean, some of the players in that league, I mean, the Charleston Charlies, Charleston, West Virginia, they had Dave Parker and Richie Zisk and Rennie Stennett and Omar Moreno, and the Rochester Red Wings, a Baltimore AAA team, had Bobby Grich and Don Baylor, and I mean, Doug DeCensus. It was unbelievable, the who's who in that league back in those days.
And then and then like you mentioned, your father was only there for 4 years before he was doing the Reds broadcasts.
Yeah.
And, he had that iconic duo, and they were doing like car commercials and things like that. So you kind of got to see your dad become a local celebrity as a kid. That must have been invigorating as far as like
cool.
wanting to do it yourself.
The thing that was really cool about it, I think more than anything, is that, and look, everybody's different and they have their reasons for being different in this regard. But one thing that he did, and it made such an incredible impression on me, it didn't matter whether it was a guy on the grounds crew, whether it was a guy who cleaned the arena every night, whether it was the owner of the team, whether it was the coach of another. I mean, he treated everybody and still does to this day. Him and Charles Barkley are the two best I've ever seen. I was around Barkley every day when we lived in Arizona all those years and watched him at the health club. And the way he treated people, it's amazing. And, I've tried to carry that along through all my travels through, day-to-day life, like hopefully most people would.
Of course. And so you got to watch that happen, and you grew up. And obviously, in 1986, you graduated Ohio University, and now your dad's a full-blown, at that point, probably considered a legend already at 1986, being in the broadcast for so many years. Was that a tough shadow? I mean, you came out swinging though. You came out and were already like voice of the Diamondbacks pretty soon down the road and everything like that. You came out swinging pretty hard. Was that tough to overcome, or was it something that you
No,
found
I mean
easy?
that's one of those things you can let it beat you down, and you can let other people saying, you got the job because of your name and all those kinds of things, and you'd be a fool to think that your name didn't help you. At least maybe somebody listened to your tape. But look, the guy who was making the people who were making the decision for the Chicago Cubs job in the winter of '89. It's Chicago, man. This is the Cubs, WGN. They're not going to hire somebody who they don't think is capable of doing an adequate job for them. And so, what other people's opinions are on that stuff and continue to be on that stuff about how you got there or why you got there or any of those other things, it's
But
like Twitter.
yeah,
You
of
just
course. As I
read the
said though,
stuff.
you've gone to eclipse sort of some of your father's accolades. Has he even said anything to you like, man, you're doing play-by-play for an NFL game? That's pretty amazing. I wish I.
Yeah, he thinks it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Of course,
And
of
now he
course.
thinks it's pretty cool that I sit on my ass and do nothing.
Well, he got to that point as well, I would imagine. And I wanted to play one thing for you. I don't have the ability to do it through.
Are we recording this, by the way?
Oh, we are, of course, recording it. Yes, is that? But this is a clip that I have of your father with Jeff Brantley, and it resonated with me as a comic on the road. The way he said it, and it's the hallmark of a Brennaman broadcast, by the way, is bringing humanity sort of to the broadcast. But this is like a segment they used to do called Ask Marty Time. I don't know if you ever heard this clip, but I'll play it.
No, I've heard it.
Oh, you've heard it?
No, not the one you're playing. Go ahead.
This is where we ask the Hall of Famer to give his thoughts on any and every subject, baseball or non-baseball, always presented by CBTS. Tonight's question comes from the Twitter handle LaymanJohn7.
Layman John 7, bring it,
Layman
nigga.
John wants to know, Marty,
Yeah, Layman John 7.
what is your biggest fear in life?
You know what? That's a serious question.
Yeah.
That's one that I would not make light of, because I think when you reach a certain age in life, maybe there are things that concern you a bit more than maybe they did when you were younger. One of the big fears I have is dying in a hotel room by myself. That's
Really?
about as honest as I can be. And the reason I say that is the pitch is strike one on a check swing that didn't check in time by Ruggiano. Two guys in our profession, Don Drysdale in Montreal and Richie Ashburn in New York City. And I don't think that's the way I want to go.
He called the game still, which I think is brilliant in that all. And he showed so much humanity in there. It made me sit up in my chair when I heard that, honest to God. I sat up as a comic on the road going like, man, I kind of was sitting here going like, I hope I don't die in my car alone. And I hope I get to a hotel room someday down the road. You know what? But I mean, that's truthfully like, and then the fact that he still called the game, I feel like for you as well, like when you did your apology that has gone around the internet so much now at this point, I mean, you called the game and everyone saw that as like a moment of callousness, whereas I saw that as you breathing. You know what I'm saying? You saw the home run and you were so entrenched in what you were saying because you wanted it to be sincere and come from the heart that the game just happened and you kind of like inhaled us, so to speak.
Well, it's one of those where, you try to put yourself in, I always say to my kids all the time, before you have something to say about something, try to walk in another person's shoes on multiple things that all of a sudden it looks like this person is for sure did this or did that or whatever it might be. And before you really know, though, for sure, you might want to take 3 steps back, try and walk in their shoes and see it from maybe where they're coming from. And when I'm sitting there making that apology on the air, I am literally watching my career go down the drain right in front of your very eyes. But you're also trained for 34 years of doing Major League Baseball that the game is always first. Nothing's more important than what's going on in the game. And I've got all this stuff going around and swirling through my mind, and I know that I'm going to lose my job. And I'm doing the very, very best I can to piece together some semblance of an apology that people will know is sincere because it was incredibly sincere. And, it bothered me for a long time, and it bothered my son a lot, who is 16 years old, that's almost become a joke of, when and I'm not on Twitter, I'm not on social media, because I can be told by my wife what a jerk I am all the time. I don't need 10,000 other people telling me what a jerk I am. But, to make light of it, like, the Castellanos home run. And I mean, I've heard it 1,000 times. And, at the end of the day now, nearly a year has gone by. I can laugh about it and think, well, there's this charity here in town that I'm working with children at a children's home in northern Kentucky, right across the river from Cincinnati, that kids that have been thrown out of their homes for being gay or being transgender, and all of a sudden their parents just throw them out of the house, right? I mean, it's unimaginable if you're a parent. And, we're thinking about putting together a T-shirt with something like, and Castellanos is homered, and trying to raise money for this children's home.
I think that would be fantastic, as a matter of fact.
Yeah,
and I know that you've done.
Idea, and it was great. But it really bothered me deeply because, I wasn't dying, and my wife wasn't dying, my kids weren't dying, our dogs weren't dying, my grandparents, it was just so it was a tough moment, and you're doing your very, very best. And really, at the end of the day, you just do the very, very best you can. And I've tried to do that since then, and we'll see what happens.
I can completely understand how, obviously it's personally attached to one of the darkest moments that you've experienced professionally, at least. And I can understand why it would be but owning it like that is something that you're going to find, I bet, to be very beneficial for you down the road.
You have to own it. I'm the one that old adage about, you made your bed, you got to sleep in it. I'm the one who used the word that I used. I did. And so whatever repercussions come from that, you have to prove to your kids and your wife and your friends that, hey, look, everybody and his brother's going to make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes every single day of the week, multiple times for most of us. And, what do? Do you get back up and try and go do something else? Or do you just stay down and walk around and woe is me and this sucks and that stinks and, everything else is, it doesn't do anybody any good. Of course. It's been the best thing at the end of the day. This year, in this calendar year, our daughter has graduated from high school this year, just about a month and a half ago. Our son is the goalie of our local high school lacrosse team, and they just won the state championship 2 weeks ago. And so I got to go to every single game. I got to go to every single graduation event, and all these parents who have had a kid graduate from high school, they know what that's turned into in this day and age. It used to be you had potato chips, and back in our day, the drinking age was 18. You'd have a keg of beer at your graduation. Now it's like, lavish parties and everything. But it's been at the end of the day, it's been great.
I hear that, and I just, for what it's worth, I believe, and I believe my audience, through discussing, back and forth, your apology came off sincere to everybody that I've spoken to of rational sense. And like I said, I don't believe you calling the game took away from that because of your training and because of it being so innate in you to do that sort of thing. And that's what I just wanted you to hear that, at least from us.
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot.
And I'm glad you're going. And I've heard you on your podcast, Dialed In. You have the Living with Change organization that you promote. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's the one that you were referring to, but
there are two different organizations. The one is a children's home in northern Kentucky, and it's called the Children's Home of Northern Kentucky. And then the other is a Living with Change. There's a fellow, the Cincinnati Children's Hospital is known as one of the 2 or 3 best children's hospitals in the world. It's where the polio vaccine was discovered, and it's this incredible place. But there's a local business guy here in town who had a son born a male. And he starts noticing, as this young boy is growing up, that he liked playing with dolls and liked wearing girls' clothes. But so all of a sudden, this, long story short, comes to this big event and this big serious moment in time where the kid is not going to go to dinner with his grandparents unless he can wear a dress. And the dad is so livid. He was this football player at Mount Union, Ohio, big Division III power and the whole deal. This rugged, tough guy. And he's fine. And they run down to Macy's down the street before the dinner. And he said his son came walking out with a dress on. And he looked at his child, who he loves more than anything in the world. And he realized I'm the one that needs to come to grips with this situation because this is my child and I love this child. And so he went to Cincinnati Children's Hospital and started that program, Living with Change, and put in $2 million to the whole thing. And it's become the, sort of place in the United States of America now where, for kids in that kind of situation and parents or brothers and sisters or aunts and uncles and grandparents can come here and learn more about it and be around some people who have shared experiences like that.
That's amazing. And like I said, you promote these things on your podcast, and you don't have to do those things, by the way. There was no court of law that came out and said that, and you're doing it out of the goodness of your heart. And I think that shows sincerity in and of itself. I wanted to ask you a couple more before we wrap up some broadcasting stories and stuff. We're
Sure.
such nerds for that kind of thing. Was there any other times that you found that you couldn't do the job as well as you would have liked? I mean, in terms of like just more folly type of stuff, like maybe the moment overcame you, or it was something that was so spectacular that you found yourself almost unable to make the call down the road?
Well, I remember the two things that really stand out, and people ask you frequently about, are there moments that you some call or whatever, and I never go back and listen, watch the call, whatever, never have. But the Fiesta Bowl game that we did on Fox back when Fox had the BCS. And I think it was 2007 when Boise State now, 15 years later is this known football power. And, they can pretty much play with anybody. They may not beat Ohio State or Alabama, but they can play with just about everybody in the country.
Sure.
And have for a long time. But I remember we were doing they would play the same site. They would play whatever bowl game was there, Fiesta Bowl, Orange Bowl, Sugar Bowl, and then 7 days later they'd play the national championship game. And so our same production crew and our broadcast team was Charles Davis and Barry Alvarez and me. And so they sent two guys to each school of the four that we would be doing. And I wound up going to Boise, and I'd never been there. And I was living in Arizona at the time. And we go up there and they're playing Oklahoma. It's got Adrian Peterson. They wind up having, I think, like 4 or 5 number 1 draft picks, had like 8 or 9 guys drafted in the first 2 rounds later after that season was over. But they had this team that everybody expected to win the national championship. They lose one game. They don't get in the BCS national championship game. And now we get to Boise and we sit there for 20 minutes, 30 minutes talking to their head coach, Chris Peterson, then a couple of the other players, this center. And I can't remember the kid's name, and I feel terrible. I got to go back up and look at some time. But this kid weighs 255 pounds, and he's a starting center for Boise State. And he's going up against this defensive tackle, Gerald McCoy, who's the best player in college football.
Of course, yeah.
and this guy weighs 300 pounds. He's just animal. And this guy's looking us in the face, and he's saying, we can beat this team. And, so we get done, and our producer, a guy named Mike Burks, and we were driving back to the hotel, and we're spending the night that night. And we're having dinner. We're looking at each other and we're like, man, I'm not smart enough to figure it out, but these guys think they can win the game. And so now fast forward, we get to the end of the game and the 4th and 23, they do this hook and ladder play. They get down in the end zone. They have a wide receiver throw the touchdown pass to tie the game. Now they go for 2 to win the game. They do the Statue of Liberty play. The guy runs it in the end zone, 2-point conversion. They win the game, throw it down to Chris Myers on the sideline. And the kid who just scored the touchdown asked the cheerleader, his girlfriend, to get married.
Oh, David Nelson. No, it wasn't David Nelson. I'm sorry.
It was Chris Johnson, I think.
Okay, my bad. Okay.
But I mean, you're just sitting there going, you have got to be kidding me. All of this that just happened, you're like, that old adage about if you wrote that script in Hollywood, no one would buy that story.
Oh, sure.
And it all happened.
It
was incredible.
Wild.
I still look back and I remember when they converted the 2-point conversion and the crowd's going crazy in Phoenix, and I take off my headset, I push the cough button, I have Barry Alvarez take off his headset, push the cough button. I said, dude, what would have happened if your offensive coordinator would have called for a wide receiver on 4th down to throw the touchdown pass, and then on the 2-point conversion, you run the Statue of Liberty? What would have happened? He said, I'd have fired that son of a bitch right on the spot. I mean, you're just sitting there, and it's all happened right there in front of you.
That's wild.
It was great.
And the proposal to put the cherry on top. I mean, how do you even react to something like that exactly? Just let the moment breathe, right? I mean, it's got to be I mean, you said Chris Myers in that story too, and I love Chris Myers being a big NASCAR guy. He's one of the voices that I've heard quite a bit over the years. Who's like the best to throw beers back with at the end of the day? You guys get done with the job.
It's funny you say Chris Myers, because he is actually in town tonight. I have not seen him since I was let go by Fox. So, all these guys that I was so used to seeing, whether it would be at our Fox baseball or football seminars or announcers for other teams in baseball or, whatever it might be, or the guys that I worked with every week. I've gone now, basically an entire year. And outside of Chris Spielman, who just lives up the road from me, my old broadcast partner on the NFL, he lives up in Columbus. I really haven't seen anybody. And I'm going to get a chance tonight to see Chris Myers. So
That's really awesome.
Because, now you being a comedian, I have to tell you, you two should get together because he lives out there in LA.
Oh, I would love that.
You should get together and do some stand-up sometime. Because
Does he do stand-up?
He's the funniest man I've ever met.
Oh my goodness! Well, I'll have to get him on sometime.
Really funny guy. Really funny guy.
That's like all my dreams come true. You can kind of tell when you see him on the broadcast and things. You're like, that's a guy I want to chill with. You know what I mean?
Oh, no doubt.
The other guy that I feel that way toward is Jeff Brantley, the Cowboy. I mean, congratulations, Mississippi State just won the College World Series, first time since he played, I believe. And I listened to your podcast with him, and isn't it bizarre because he is such he's an amazing professional baseball player that he grew up wanting to be a broadcaster more than he wanted to be a baseball player. Does that boggle your mind as a person?
Well, it boggles my mind, one, and it boggles my mind maybe even more that he listened to Reds games in Alabama, as he shared with us in the podcast with his father, and the only place they could get him was in the car radio.
Yeah, it was just one of those 5,000 watters that shoot down the coastline.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was huge. They go, nighttime, even now they go into, I think after 10 o'clock or something, they go into like 38 states. And so, there are a lot of places where that's true. But I heard him share that story many, many years ago, but it is amazing that that's A, what he wanted to do, and B, the team he listened to was hundreds of miles away. And now he's announcing their games.
Yeah, that's wild. I mean, I learned baseball from listening to Reds broadcasts myself, and I grew up in Buffalo, and I just listened to him on the internet.
Buffalo. Great town.
I love it. I'm from there. I was born there. I moved here when I was in my 30s, so I love Buffalo through and through. But same kind of thing though. Like I listened to it on the internet though, and there was a story I heard about your father and Jeff. And the way that they told it, I thought it would happen back in a long time ago, but it really only happened, the last 15 years, like in 2003, I want to say, or something, when Jeff came on to the broadcast. But he said he sat down and he just basically thought he was going to shoot the shit, basically, and call the game. And your father just at one point just said he had to go to the bathroom or something, got up and left Jeff to call the rest of the inning. Yep. And he was behind him going like, where'd it go? Like yelling instructions to him at the end of the day. Yep. And he was like chirping him in the ear, Yep. I mean, that was like, 2002? I mean, that's crazy.
No, heck, that was after 2007. Jeff and I both started with the Reds the same year in 2007. So it would have been right around that time.
That's crazy that it happened so recently. It seems like one of those things you'd hear back in the day kind of thing, But that's such an old school tactic. Was your dad like not psyched working with him at first, or was he like, I'm going to teach this guy how to?
Oh, I thought he was I know he was very excited. Jeff, Jeff's just a great talker. When Jeff played for the Reds, he went on, they had this thing, a local travel agency for years and years, 40, 50 years, where, fans can buy to go on a cruise with, they bring in Reds from the past. So, Pete Rose used to go, Joe Morgan used to go, Johnny Bench, whatever, 7 or 8 of the current players. It used to be a really big deal. And so Jeff went on, I think, 2 of those back-to-back years. And that's where my dad got to know him a little bit. And I mean, my dad would be the first to tell you that, you spend 10 minutes around Jeff Brantley, even when he first came up with the San Francisco Giants out of Mississippi State. The guy's a talker, and he's got an incredible baseball IQ, and he was going to be really good, and he is really good. I mean, he's one of the top guys out there in baseball today, I think.
So best pipes in the biz, man. I mean, unreal. He's just the
really
best.
Good.
I didn't even think he was a an ex-ball player at first, coming up learning about baseball, hearing his voice. I did my research obviously later on, but it was, he's like born and bred for this kind of thing. And that was what was so strange about hearing him on your podcast, Dialed In, hearing that he wanted to be a broadcaster for the Reds, that he ended up playing for them and the Giants and a bunch of other teams. But just a wild sort of backwards dream. I would think a lot of kids, they obviously grow up wanting to be a ball player, not necessarily the broadcaster of the ball team. I wanted to be the broadcaster, but I had no athletic talent whatsoever.
You still have time.
Maybe down the road. I don't know. I have a lot of bad tape out there. People can pick up.
We all do.
Yeah, you think yours is bad. Mine is,
right.
Mine's a little rougher. But I appreciate you coming on, sir, and I hope everyone checks out Dialed In with Thom Brennaman, because now that's the next moon you're going to conquer, is the podcasting world. Some wonderful guests already. I personally love the 2-part Johnny Bench episode you just put out. Are there any other guests you want to promote coming out down the road?
No, our library's already pretty good, as you know. And thank you, by the way, for bringing it up. It started with Urban Meyer, and we've had Troy Aikman. I thought the Joe Buck 2-part was really good. Joe's one of those guys. I've known Joe since I was about 24, and he was about 18. And our dads, of course, were these giants in the business. And look, he has been at the top of the mountain for a long, long time, and takes a lot of bullets and a lot of arrows and a lot of, slinging around about, Joe. But the guy is just awesome to talk to. The Pete Rose interview I thought was really good. The one that I think is the most interesting one, because there aren't a lot of fans that maybe know about this guy outside of Penn State and Cincinnati, is a story of Mike Reed, who was a Outland Trophy winner, was the best defensive player in college football, was the 7th pick in the NFL draft by the Bengals back in '68. He was the best defensive lineman in the NFL his first 5 years in the league. He was Aaron Donald before Aaron Donald. He was that good. He broke every record there was for sacks. And then all of a sudden, he walks in the door at 27 years old, quits, and starts playing music in a local bar here in Cincinnati. And he's gone on to write 57 number one hits. Everybody from Kenny Chesney to Alabama, to Ronnie Millsap, to Bonnie Raitt, to Michael Jackson. He is a fascinating guy. And so all those have been fun to do. I'm just grateful that Believe gets me a chance to do them. And they were the only group, since all this happened about a year ago, that said, hey, look, we're willing to give people a second chance. And thank God. I'm very, very grateful to just have the opportunity to do it.
Well, I'm certainly glad that they did that as well, because we love hearing your voice, and we're happy to have you back on the airwaves in some capacity. And I know it's only going to get bigger and better from here, sir. So thank you so much for coming on. And everyone check out Dialed In with Thom Brennaman. Awesome podcast. One of the best.
You keep up your great podcast.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to try
to catch up with you.
We do some wild things over here, but that's why I'm so happy you came on, sir. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Okay.
Thank you. You too.
I want to thank Thom Brennaman for coming on the show. I hope you enjoyed it as well. That was a wild experience for your boy here. Definitely on the Mount Rushmore of experiences in show business of any sort. So I appreciate him listening to me be a nerd about things and addressing what has become a part of this show. It's just the apology aspect of it. So thank you to him for being so cool and candid. I can't wait to have him back on the program. We'll find a way to get him back on. And I do hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you come back next Tuesday. We will see you next Tuesday here on The Josh Potter Show.